So how does instructional design fit into the project management process? So the project management process, defined by PMBOK, the Project Management Institute, is initiating, planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, and closing. So how does the instructional design process, the easiest way to look at that is to, go by ADDIE is how we define it, the instructional design process. Where does it fit in the project management? So the project management, the way the phases work is we have initiating. This is where we, are writing up our project charter and starting to really get things moving. Because as soon as we're done with initiating, when we start our project, we get into planning. And that's where we are, planning our budget, planning our schedule, making sure that everything's going to happen. Execution is when our project takes place. Then we have monitoring and controlling, which takes place over the execution phase. And that's basically monitoring and controlling to make sure that the project is moving successfully. And then we have closing, which is our final sign-off, our signature. All right, so how does instructional design relate to this and where does it fit in? So in initiating, which is our first phase in project management, our instructional designers our designers should definitely be identified. All stakeholders should be identified at this point. Our SMEs, our project managers, everyone that's going to work on the project. A gap analysis has been, or some kind of front-end analysis has been completed because we're talking about initiating a project. So we had to have had some kind of problem, some kind of intervention is happening. So we're doing some kind of project. So we've done this gap analysis. A problem has been identified. Hopefully, instructional designers are already involved at this point. Now, they should be identified definitely, but hopefully they are involved in that gap analysis, that front-end analysis process, because if there is a training intervention, you had to have an instructional designer to start to come up with what the solution is going to be to the problem. I've been on projects where that's not the case, where sometimes all of this has happened and then I'm kind of given the project, and it doesn't always happen this way. Sometimes an instructional designer is not involved and the solution isn't a great one, or maybe it is good, but I've been in projects where it's not been a great solution. There was no instructional designer involved in the training intervention, the solution. So hopefully an instructional designer is already involved in the project. Planning. The ISD definitely has to be involved here. We're still in the entry phases of the project, but the instructional designer needs to be involved in planning. Why? Because we're planning all phases of the project. How much is this thing going to cost? How long is it going to take to do? How many instructional designers do we need? What are our deliverables going to need? You have to have instructional designers helping with this part of the PM phases, or someone who doesn't know anything about our field is going to be making up stuff about a training intervention. So the ISD does need to be involved in this point. And now the instructional designer is hopefully starting to work on the project, doing that analysis. Like, we've done the gap analysis, so we're starting to figure out, really get into who are the learners, what's the context, really starting to get that stuff so that we can actually get our task analysis done, right? So you can start the analysis phase right here, right now. Project execution, that's where everything takes place. If you haven't started it yet, you're doing everything. The whole instructional design process takes place during execution and monitoring and controlling. Everything takes place here. This is where we do our whole entire everything. Because closing is sign off. So as soon as we're done with our implementation, that might be when we get sign off, right? Maybe we're doing an evaluation. That's when we get sign off. Whenever the project's done, we're closing. So that's it. So that's really where instructional design fits in. So you can see a bulk of what we do, it fits into the PM process in just the project part. But that upfront work, instructional designers are identified and they need to be involved in. And you can start, definitely the front-end analysis has already had to have been done before you do initiate a project. And hopefully the analysis is starting to take place during that planning phase. Thank you.